What's up everyone, it's Lovenji here, and we're going into the penultimate mission of Populous, the beginning. Now, there's going to be a lot of speeding up in this, which is another reason why I've foregone the intro once again. We are going to be dealing with all three tribes, and this mission is in fact the last mission before the end of the game. That's what the map would have you believe. I've already said penultimate mission. There is another mission after this, but this is the last, should I call it, serious mission. Pits us against all three tribes with the Matak to the north, the Chimara to the east and west, and the Dakini to the east and west. It's really confusing because of the way the map is laid out, because obviously it's spherical. The Chumara can be considered to our east, and the Dakini can be considered to our west, though the Chumara can come across either path. As you can see, there are three narrow paths that connect our little island to the three big islands of the enemy tribe. Now, I deconstruct this mission into a couple of parts. First, we have the production phase, as always, and as you may have noticed, the wild man count is so limited that the conversion phase is not really a thing that happens so much as it does just start you with a bunch of braves. So I put the huts very close together, and I try to be big on hut efficiency, and I'm aware, looking at this already, that this wasn't as perfect as it could have been. However, all I'm trying to do is build up the huts as quickly as possible, and I readied those blasts ready for the early Matak attack. That can really ruin you if you don't expect it. Now, with the erode spell, we're going to sever one of these bridges. Now, the problem is if you sever both bridges, the AI then turns to boats and balloons and becomes very difficult to deal with when it attacks you, as well as a few other things like the Angel of Death spell starts to get used. However, if instead of severing both paths, you only sever one of the paths, I always choose the Dakini path, it forces the Dakini, when they want to attack you, because there's still an available land route, to walk through the Chumara's base, which means the Chumara will always whittle them down whenever the Dakini try to attack. I'd say that applies in 90% of scenarios, as the Dakini do have a couple of scripted boat attacks in which you take a volcano to the flank if you're not paying attention. One of my commenters earlier on in the series mentioned that you can have fire warriors patrolling. I don't do it in this video, but that is one such way that you could deal with that potential volcano attack. I actually get very lucky and don't take the volcano because of events that happen later on, which you'll see. Now, I wanted to take some of this time to explain to you some of the really good spells that you're not seeing me use, and explain a little bit about why I'm not using them versus their multiplayer application. So, if you've ever watched a Populous the Beginning channel, you may notice that one of the common uses for the tornado is actually to cast it on men. I've complained many times about how tornadoes are a jerk, but I fully accept that that one was my fault. Also, that guy has the strength of the Hulk to push me that far into the water. Now, when you play online, you may notice that the tornado is a common way to intercept the shaman walking, as well as picking up part of the army. That's because flying around in the tornado not only disables a section of the army, and in particular can disable the shaman for a good amount of time in the fight, as well as running the risk of throwing it into the water, instantly killing it. Actually flying around in the tornado, and then the fall damage that comes afterwards, can deal quite a lot of damage. And separating the army is something that is common in a lot of RTSs as a really strong tactic. You think of the Protoss' ability in StarCraft 2 to utilize force fields to separate opposing armies and deal with them in individual chunks. It's considered a very powerful ability. And the same principle applies here. Now, there's another spell that does that even better, for cheaper, and you've probably never seen me use it in this entire series, and that is the Swarm spell. Now, in multiplayer, the Swarm spell removes all control of the men while they are panicking and running around. That's incredibly good against players because when you're trying to control this army, with the amount of damage being thrown out by the shaman anyway, ooh, they got some airtime. So what I'm trying to deal with is that there's 5 fire warriors in that hut, and I'm trying to get them out. But obviously if you go near them, because they're on high ground, they just get you. So I'm trying to use a sneaky earthquake. Now, because the swarm spell forces the men to run around in a panicked state, and also removes control of them, it's a very good spell for disabling huge chunks of an army. And fighting any army separated is easier than fighting it all at once, even with the amount of damage being thrown out by the Shaman. However, because the AI is, well, a computer, it can very quickly regain and regroup control of its army. Now, the Swarm is actually the main deterrent as to why I don't use men in my own playthrough to try to complete these missions. It's not because I care particularly much when they die. I'm not sure if YouTube's going to have a problem with that out of context. It's not so much I care about the men when they die, so much as I find it incredibly irritating to try to regroup my army after it's all been split off here, there and everywhere, and half of my army of warriors has run away from all my preachers, and all my preachers have run into fire warriors and died, and now all my warriors are being preached to by a preacher, and that's all just because I lost control of them for a few seconds thanks to the Swarm spell. I don't put very much high priority on it other than stopping preachers when you're against the AI, but against players it's a fantastically good spell. So all we're doing, and all we're going to be doing for a good chunk of this video, is killing the Matak. The way I break this mission down after separating the one connection of land is I then focus my attacks on the Matak. They create the land bridge and have the path to land to us that is probably the easiest to deal with. Because if you leave the Matak alone, they just cast an occasional cheap Angel of Death. Now, all of that mana is also really useful, because if they're charging an Angel of Death, it means they've got a lot of mana available to steal through killing the Shaman. So I put my efforts into killing her first. Then I deal with the Chumara, and then I finish the mission with what is believed to be, from a lore perspective, the main rival, the Dakini. But the Chumara, the Matak tribe, is really quite well spread out, and therefore it takes a considerable amount of time to actually deal with them. Because, as you can see, there's just one random hut here, there and everywhere. So we go into yet another sped up segment. I'm using speed up quite a lot. I think the original footage for this mission was around 38-40 minutes, there or thereabouts. Another really long mission. Could be made shorter. What I should do now, if I really cared about time, is train an army and try to finish them off that way. The AI's response to armies by throwing its army at your army would be great for whittling out the remaining population. Now this is a stage where the trick that I mentioned would work. So hitting the Fire Warrior hut with the lightning spell and then the tornado spell would have ensured that that hut had been destroyed. And we're now on to the other reason why I don't like boats. The AI tends not to surrender so long as it's got a good number of Braves alive. It also likes to make a whole load of boats and then do absolutely nothing with them and just leave the Braves sat in boats. Which means you have to do what I'm doing now, which is individually deal with each Brave in a boat, and you can do that either by hitting it with a lightning spell or blasting the boat onto land. I'm pretty sure if you hit units in vehicles with a hypnotize spell, they immediately leave the vehicle, which means you can sink a boatload of men if you hit them with a hypnotize spell. But I'm being very conscious of the time it's taken me to do this mission, and I'm trying to rush this down before I actually have the mana regeneration for the big spells. So, aside from a whole bunch of Shaman deaths, what we're trying to do is make sure that all our huts are full, which, as you can see, they're not, and that we've got good mana regeneration, because the way I deal with the Chumara is I Angel of Death them to death. So I mentioned in the last mission, I believe, that you can eventually... Oh no, it's in Archipelago. I mentioned in Archipelago that the Angel of Death lasts longer than it takes to charge it when you've got good mana regeneration. Which means although it takes time, you can slowly build up an army of angels that will take out a tribe eventually. Now, to save on casualties, that's something that I implement, and I make sure that when I am attacking in this mission, I'm trying to keep my casualties to a minimum, and the Angel of Death is a great way of doing that. Because through the Angel of Death, I'm not actually losing any men. I'm not having to do anything. I can keep my shaman at home, protecting my tribe from any potential Dakini attacks, and then finish it off with... and then save all the additional mana to finish off the Dakini, whilst the Angel of Death slowly whittles away at the Chimera population. It is time consuming, does take time, which is why once again I'll be using the speed up function, but it is something that ultimately will work out. I do recommend, if you play this mission yourself and you're trying this game, that you do have a go trying to do this mission with the army. In this game, the population counts are so high and the train count is so high that you can get some incredibly epic battles just through the way the AI responds to your army being in their base by throwing everything at you. It's one of the reasons that pitting the Chimera and the Dakini against each other is so helpful in stopping them both attacking you, because they field such large armies, and you may have seen the swamp wall that I created on the Chimera path. I'm getting ping-ponged by 2 fire warriors. My stubbornness gets me killed. I really wanted to get that tornado off before dealing with the fire warriors, and it got me killed. I should have dealt with the fire warriors first. So now I'm just trying to get some fire warriors in the hut. Now, the swamps you see me put on the Chimera path, you're probably thinking that's excessive. That's actually not enough. I don't realise this during the playthrough, but you'll see all their army walks into those and still makes it through. And it gives you an idea of just how many men are in play for this mission. So, if you've got a couple of hours to kill, I recommend trying to do this mission with just the army and see how far you get. I opted not to do it for this playthrough because I don't have an infinite amount of time. Now I see that volcano go down and I immediately panic. It's not normally the Chimera that will volcano you, so I was wondering what was going on. Fortunately, that volcano was on the Dakini, and it's the use of that volcano on the Dakini that's going to prevent the Dakini volcanoing us, because their population has taken a hit, so has their mana regeneration. And everything else comes into place before the Dakini shaman lands with her volcano. So as you can see, I'm slowly building a repertoire. Whilst it takes me a long time to kill the Matak, I'm using that time to slowly build a repertoire of more damaging spells. You know, we've gone from just using Tornado and Lightning, we've got fully charged Swamp, we've got fully charged Earthquake, we can have Tornado and Lightning charging at the same time at a reasonable pace, we've got all our Swarm, we've got an Invisibility, and we forced the surrender out of the Matak. But again, this was not a fantastic performance from me in terms of Shaman management, and I get the Shaman killed a whole bunch of times. I'd be interested if any of you keep a tally of how many times I actually get the Shaman killed. As you can see, the volcano did a good chunk of damage. I always have to check any volcanoes that go off on that side, because sometimes they can be positioned in such a way that the volcano actually reconnects the land, and because it's damaged ground, you cannot sink the land again. You have to sink some of your own land to disconnect yourself from the volcano, which can be a pain in the backside. Or you can wait the full duration for damaged ground. That's quite a long duration, and if it connects particularly well, you can't cover that with swamps from the whole army, and it just causes all kinds of chaos and hell. So with the Matak down, we are just now filling the rest of our spells, and you can see I've actually got the in-game speed up function running at the same time as we just finish up charging these spells. And you can see we've got very good mana regeneration, we're charging Firestorm without a dent, and we're even going to be able to charge our Angel of Death and Volcanoes. The Volcano we're going to hold for the Dakini. Oh, and here we go, this is them slipping through. So I have to very panickedly cast a whole bunch of spells. Just panic swamping. Didn't even get around to cancelling the swamp because enough men ran into it. Though I'm pretty sure it was enough of my own men. So with the Shaman alive, we begin the next stage of the game, which is wiping out the Chimera with Angels of Death. The Chimera have a very high fire warrior population, and it's because of that high fire warrior population that I don't try to balloon them or anything like that. Or go for a walk. I hate dealing with fire warriors greatly, and therefore I just opt not to deal with fire warriors. Seemed reasonable enough. We do utilize balloons to finish off the Dakini. The mobility against the Dakini is very helpful. But ultimately, we are going to charge the volcano and immediately begin the barrage of the Angels of Death. Now, once you're down to one tribe, I opt to unload all the spells. You could unload all the spells on the Chimera, recharge, and unload again on the Dakini. I just like having this moment to max out my tribe, get as many Braves as I possibly can, get the balloon hut down ready for the Dakini. You know, once the Matak is dead, I consider the Matak to be the hurdle for the mission success. Once the Matak is dead, I know that I've got the mission under control, because I only have this one path to watch. I'm flooding it with swamps to be safe. That's 6 swamps, 7 swamps, 8 swamps. Still won't be enough. And so we begin. Now, Angels of Death tend to go for the tribe closest from the point that it's cast. So I'm casting at a very specific angle, because if you cast closer to the south, it actually goes after the Dakini. So you do need to be mindful where you're casting your Angels of Death, which is a very unusual little feature. But also makes sense. It makes the target selection easy to understand. And that little notification there was a warning saying that I've reached the maximum population of my tribe and I can grow no more. But as you can see, with Angels of Death at work, this doesn't make for particularly good viewing. But if you look at the tribe icon, when the tribe icon is flashing, it means a member of that tribe is dying. And you can see now that the yellow icon is flashing constantly. They are permanently got someone dying, and our Angels of Death are getting more and more numerous. And then we're also getting a lot less Fire Warrior notifications, implying that they're really running low on Fire Warriors. I was just doing a little check on how their tribe is doing. As you can see, they're not doing too great. Once again, in come the Dakini. And with a little help from the Angels of Death, they run away again. And the Red Shaman's mana is great because it helps us charge even more Angels of Death. And that is the Dakini removed from the game. The Dakini, the Chimera. Oh. I was doing so well at not misnaming the tribes. And so I've ended the speed up, as this is the final serious mission of the game, one could say. And as this is the final unloading of spells you're going to see from a physical shaman. Spoilers. I wanted this to be, you know, the lasting image of Populous, the beginning. So I take my time, watching the volcano erupt, fire rain, the Angels of Death all but destroying the Dakini population. You can paint these really wonderful images of destruction in your own head when you envision this sort of stuff. And it's one of the reasons why I love this game. So, as I've said numerous times, I strongly recommend that anyone play Populous at the beginning. It's an old game, but it's aged very, very well. We're just causing as much damage as possible with our spells. So they're doing what they can to build up what remains of their little tribe. I don't really know why I use so many. And I play a dangerous game with that Fire Warrior. I'm using the magical shield on a Brave just to give me that extra little barrier of life. Hoping that any Fire Warriors may connect with the Brave shield as opposed to my Shaman. But yes, for the final moments of destruction, I'm going to be quiet and just let this video finish out. As always, it's been a pleasure playing this series with you. We do have one more in this, and then we'll be going on to the expansion, so it's not quite the end of Populous yet. But as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.